shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime, south of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces. Coming in out of the rain, they hear the jazz go down. Competition in other places, but the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south, way on down south, London town. Check out Guitar George, he knows all the chords. But it's strictly rhythm, he doesn't want to make it cry or sing. If any old guitar is all he can afford, when he gets up under the lights to play his thing. And Harry doesn't mind if he doesn't make the scene. He's got a daytime job, he's doing alright. He can play the honky-tonk like anything, saving it up Friday night with the Sultans, with the Sultans of Swing.
The first Tournament of Champion winner, Billy Hardwick. Leading the 4-7.
He almost threw it away, Chris. He just cranked it too much, cut it short, and almost left the 4-7-10. He still needs a spare.
Gets the spare. Marshall Holman, first time ever in this great championship. At this point now, in a field that started with 52 winners, he needs 5 pins.
A dejected Billy Hardwick, he knows that Holman will get 5 pins. Crossing over and getting 9. And there is a winner of $25,000 with a 203 to 198.
Imagine that. The first time starter at 203 to the great champion Billy Hardwick's 198.
All right, folks, it's PBA Tournament of Championships week on Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. That used this saw Marshall Holman winning his first of 2 Tournament of Champions. That was back when he was a little-known rookie, who we didn't, they call him the Mentor Meteor, and guys, that scene when he won the championship and did this like that. That's what I did when Florida State won the ACC title. Oh no, it was the one when we beat LSU. I was like, yeah, you remember that? Remember I brought that up? Yeah. Are you there, Matt?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just want to make sure. Let me give a call to Tom Clark. And meantime, let's play another. This is actually another event of. It's not something that you really want to talk about, but in 1991, there was a really serious situation at Riviera Lanes where Adam was going to be this week. It was delayed by 40 minutes due to a bomb threat there. So here is Chris Schenkel and Nelson Burton Jr. from the parking lot where Adam's probably going to park his car on Wednesday.
Yep.
So here it is.
This situation more than a half hour ago here in Fairlawn, Ohio, was not nearly as beautiful as those blossoms on the crabapple trees here. This is a shot of outside Riviera Lanes, which has been the scene of the Firestone Tournament of Champions for years and years. This is the 27th event. We had a bomb scare, a bomb threat via telephone at 2:48. Those calling said it would go off at in 15 minutes or 3:03. It did not. Fortunately, the Fairlawn Police and Fire Department have searched Fairlawn Lanes, the interior, many, many times, and the all clear was given, and our 5 champions who are in our finals today are practicing, and our first game will get underway in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris Schenkel with Nelson Burton Jr. Normally we would be going into the rest of our Firestone Tournament of Champions, but at 2:48 a telephone call here at Riviera Lanes indicated that there was a bomb inside, the scare of a bomb. So the law enforcement officers of Fairlawn, Ohio have asked everybody to depart the premises. Of course, we have too. And the threat came at 2:48 and said in 15 minutes, or about right now, the bomb would go off. We had a bomb scare last week in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. There was a bomb in the building, very little consequent. It was detonated by the bomb squad of Windsor Locks and with very little effect. Riviera Lanes, supposed to be the site of the finals of the 27th Firestone Tournament of Champions. The building has been evacuated. As at 2:48, a telephone bomb scare was received by the Fairlawn Police Department, Dave Graham. So consequently, as a precaution, Nelson Burton Jr., everybody was evacuated, including us. We did have, for those of you that weren't with us at the beginning at 3 o'clock, a bomb actually in the building last week.
All right, folks. Yeah, so that's what happened back in 1991. So hopefully we don't have that happen this year, Adam. So let's bring in Adam. Bring in your good friend. Go ahead and bring him in, and I'll bring in Tom Clark in a minute.
Sure. So, folks, our first guest tonight is someone I've known for a very long time. He is no stranger to AMF Riviera Lanes, has competed there from back in the day, winning the Resident Pro National Championship. He's the USBC Hall of Famer, and I am a proud subscriber of his blog, the11thframe.com. So let's bring in University of Wisconsin sports aficionado, our good friend Jeff Richgels, who is joining us here tonight. And on the phone we have the commissioner of the PBA Tour, and I know he's looking forward to seeing yours truly starting Wednesday night up there in Akron, Ohio. The commissioner, Tom Clark. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And let's start by talking about yesterday's Tournament Player Championship with Ethan Fiore capturing the title. Starting with you, Tom, since you were there, are we seeing now the young blood of the PBA Tour starting to take shape?
You said it, Adam. That is exactly what I said to the crowd after the match. Was we've all very lucky to see history. Not only Ethan's first and his first major, and you can tell it will not be his last. But we watched an incredible match between two guys that are 22 years old and 20 years old, and they're going to be out there a long time, and they're the future of the game, and you saw it right on display at the highest level already. So that really makes me feel good. It shows that these are kids that grew up during this era and wanted to be part of the PBA, and they had a dream, and they're seeing it come true, and that's really all that's important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Tom, and it was great to watch it yesterday. and you were sitting there with Chris Barnes, and his son was bowling. How nervous was Chris during the entire broadcast? Because I know his wife sent a nice text message to Randy, and it was funny as anything about. I think Randy said in the text message, like, "Yeah, Ryan's using his psychology to help his, sit with his mom. It was his dad or something like that."
Well, his mom was a psychology major. Chris Barnes is he's always been kind of like two people, off the lanes and on the lane. And when he's on the lanes, he's incredibly intense. He's incredibly kind of uptight. He's very into every moment, nervous about every moment, thinking ahead, figuring out puzzles. You almost can't bother him because he is such in game mode when he's bowling, and that's exactly the way he is when Ryan is bowling. So when Ryan's out there, Chris feels just as competitive and just as much into it as when he's bowling. And if you notice, this whole season, they roomed together, they bowled on tour together, and they always bowled on separate squads if ever possible, so that one could watch the other and the other could watch. So at the World Series, Ryan would be on A, Chris would be on B, because they spend their time helping each other and being as much into each other's games as their own. And that's what's really cool to see this year.
Yeah, I think it's also cool. And it would have been cool yesterday if Ryan won the title and his dad was going to give him the title. I think that would have been a great, like, one of those storybook endings, like, "Here, son, here's your first title. Thanks, Dad. I love you, Dad." And waiting for that,
Yeah, well, that Chris is also sometimes he's a smart aleck, and I know he was tempted to say, "Well, Ethan, I kind of wish I was giving this to someone else," but he smartly did not do that, and he treated it completely professionally as the Players Committee president and presented the trophy. And he knows Ethan's going to have a long career, and he knows Ryan's going to get his soon. It was doubly disappointing for Ryan and for Chris because they wanted to bowl the TOC this week.
Right.
And if he wins that game, he's in the TOC. Ethan would have been PTQ because he had a regional title, but Ryan doesn't have a regional title yet.
Wow.
So that meant he had absolutely no avenue to bowl unless he won that match. And, he wanted to be in that tournament too.
Right, exactly. We have Jeff Richgels with us. Jeff, do you have anything for Tom?
That's some good stuff there. Some stuff there I didn't know about, and I just would echo what he said there. That was so much fun to watch. As I wrote yesterday, I saw Ethan on video, on social media maybe 3 years ago, right after he joined the PBA, and I said, "Wow, I got to watch this kid. His game just looks so awesome." And here we get a chance to see it, and then just look at how solid he is at the line, and it's every shot. That's a shot for his first PBA Tour title, and he just dead posted that perfectly, and it looked like any other shot he'd thrown in practice or something. You couldn't be more impressed by him, and he was marked as a star of the future, as I wrote in that roll-off with EJ in the Nevada Classic, and it was just a matter of time for him to get a title, and who knew it would be this quickly? If barring injuries or other things happening, you got to think that one day, it might be after I'm dead and gone at my age, but he's going to be the next, he'll be there with EJ and Belmo and stuff like that. This is way early to say that, but boy, you watch him, and that's the thing that comes to your mind. I'm going to be honest. I don't sugarcoat stuff, and that's what I think when I watch him. And then I watch Ryan, and similar thoughts. And so maybe these will be the two guys 10 years from now that will be the EJ and Belmo that we have now. And, Belmo will probably be retired to Australia then. And then EJ will be the old guy trying to hang on or whatever. He'll be in his 40s then. So, when these guys are just 20 and 22, it's just hard to believe. It's like seeing, a Pete or something at his coming up at that age. So it's cool to watch. I couldn't get enough of watching either of these two guys.
Yeah, they both have a certain quality that actually Pete is another one that has always had this quality of almost not being like impervious to the lane conditions. Like you see Ethan bring the ball back from places that no one else is even trying. His ball has a traction to it that like only Pete had back in the day. Where why is he able to get the ball back and no one else can from there?
Mhm.
I live that.
Ryan is probably one of the best athletes to ever bowl the PBA Tour.
Right.
And he's going to be able to put so much power on the ball. It's devastating. I mean, it was kind of on display at the Strike Derby, if you remember. I mean, he's so fast. He would have broken every record in the Strike Derbies for how many shots you get off and how many strikes you could get with enough chances at it. Because he just throws such a devastating ball. You wonder how he ever leaves a pin.
Right.
You know.
The thing.
So sometimes I feel like. You know how Chris is such a cerebral player, and it feels like with Ryan that he doesn't need to be necessarily. He could almost go with his A game and just pulverize the pins at any point. You know, he went on a run during the Players when it was a tough shot, and there was one block. I think he averaged 250. I mean, it was mesmerizing to see how easy he made it look. And
it seemed to me,
Ryan,
Tom, I wanted to ask you this. This is what I was going to write if Ryan won.
Until like the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, he just started taking the game seriously, and he's already at this level. Whereas I remember seeing Ethan bowl the Teen Masters back in the day. First time I saw him, there's always these kids where you never forget the first time you saw him. And I was watching my son go to the Teen Masters. We were at a practice day before the official practice, and Ethan was out on the lanes at Thunder Bowl. And he knew who we were, so I knew immediately, okay, this kid follows the PBA. And he wanted to talk to my son, and I think they practiced together for a while. And I basically left and told my son, "Do you see how he posts shots? That's what you got to do. You know, that kid posts shots like Rick said every single time. It's really amazing."
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Tom. The thing that I found cool about Ryan and the other players talking about it, and it was going to be my story if he won, is that I thought of him as like a two-handed Norm Duke in a sense, because everyone talked about him playing to the right and hard and straight as he did on the show, and no one else could play there. And I kept thinking, well, that's what I saw and experienced, and we all watched for years and years and years with Norm. And obviously I'm not putting Ryan in Norm's class, but it's the principle of Ryan has a trick that it doesn't seem like other two-handers have, in being able to be out there and play hard and straight when no one else could, or no one else, they tried, but it didn't work. And he had a huge block doing that. And there he was on the show shooting 260. And I kind of thought, I have to admit, I said, man, I don't know how Ethan's going to beat this, because the inside didn't look like that. You watch Tim and all the guys, you know, Tim and Alec were throwing Brooklyns on any shot they cut short at all. It was like, it's so tricky in there. And I thought, man, Ryan's going to run him over the way it looks right now. Playing the Duke, the two-handed Duke is what I was thinking. That was going to be my story, the two-handed Duke. And then Ethan's like, I don't care what those other guys did. I'll make it work, which he did. So it was cool in both respects. But
it's a good observation, and I think it goes to what I was saying about how fast Ryan picks things up. I think Chris Barnes learned sort of halfway through his career on the PBA Tour that, hey, wait a minute, Norm and Walter and the guys who have a lot of success on TV, they stay right and they stay direct, because the players that always were trying to get in and play like they did all week, in a one-game match, you know, disaster can strike at any moment. You saw it happen with E.J. Tackett's career for a lot of it, where you'd say, wow, he dominated all week, but he gets on TV and one goes through the nose, and the next thing you know, you're in a 10-frame match that's over so fast. And you saw what happened to Ryan the last two times. He played the lanes correctly, and he shot 130, 140. And now I think he came into this television show with the mindset of a Norm Duke or a Walter or Chris Barnes, who picked it up later in his career. Hey, I got to get right, get behind it, take a lot of the danger out of play, and just smash the pocket. And Ryan did that. And when I was sitting with Chris, one interesting thing he said was, because I saw Ryan start well, and I'm like, okay, he's going to calm down. And Chris said, by the fourth frame, he's like, in the fourth frame, I'll know if he's calmed down. And I think he had the front four, or maybe first three and then a spare. And Barnes said to me right at the time, Chris did, yeah, he's comfortable now, because he got through what that first 4 frames on TV is a really important stretch. And when Ryan got through that, it was like, okay, he's off to the races.
That's true. I agree. Adam, do you have a question for either?
I do. So I want to talk about the All-Star weekend of Foxview Lanes, because it was on string pins, and I want to ask you, Tom, will we see a regular season tournament using the string pins, or will it be used for events like the All-Star weekend?
Yep, Adam, you always ask the hard question.
That's why I got
you. I'm smart. I did my homework, Tom. I knew you were coming on, so you know.
Now, in my opinion, we aren't ready for national tour events on string. We will have 8 regional events on string this year that count. They're title events.
Okay.
And I think about 2 in each region, roughly, something like that. And I think that after we do that this year and we collect the data and we talk to the players and we look at the situations, then I think we'll at least be a little bit more comfortable one way or the other with decision making. But personally, I don't think we get there to strings on the national tour in the immediate future.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I think with the string pins, because I was watching it last weekend with my girlfriend, and she goes, "There's strings on them." I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "What if you have to slide a pin over to knock out a split?" I'm like, "Well, hopefully the string's long enough to hit the thing, probably." She's like, "That's like different than the normal 10 pins we saw yesterday." I was like, "Yeah, well, because that's what they're trying to do." I guess I don't know what the concept of the string pins are. Maybe because I see them a lot in funhouse games. Because if you go to the boardwalk in Ocean City, they have them. Maybe it's a way to show people how to bowl, or I just don't. To me, I think I got to be sold on it.
It's just they're easier to maintain for bowling centers. The cost over time will be less for bowling centers. So the centers that are trying to stay in business and create a better experience for their bowlers. In terms of how much they have to pay to bowl,
right.
Are looking at it, and it's becoming an option. And I think it's pretty inevitable that down the road there's going to be a larger and larger percentage of new centers, because all the machines and all the classic centers are all getting really old, and it becomes tougher to replace parts and tougher to maintain. And then the mechanics that you need for the other machines are a little bit you need a little bit more work from them, and there are not many mechanics anymore, and so some centers have a hard time employing them and finding them, and so the thought is you don't need as much time or energy behind a mechanic if you have string. So that's the reason why you see it happening. But I'll tell you, the good string pin sets, and it's important to know that we were on certified strings, which is the Cubica Edge.
Okay.
Most of the string pin sets that you've seen at the fun places, like at the Round Ones or other places where you've seen string, they are nowhere near the same level of technology that you see on Cubica Edge. And one of the things that makes the Cubica Edge pins more realistic is the length of the string. They are longer strings, and it's kind of contrary to common belief, but the longer the string, the more realistic it is. Even though people would think, well, if it's a long string, the string's going to knock pins over, and it doesn't really happen that way. It just allows the pins to be more free in how they fly, and you can make a split and send it across, no problem. And so some of the things that people will just learn as they go. I will say that after that All-Star weekend, we've done a lot of controversial things through the years, but I've never seen more, comments in social media against something than string pins. I mean, I think the immediate reaction from traditional bowling fans is it's just wrong. It's not something they wanted to see with the game, and we all understand that. But I think something like the All-Star weekend will help normalize it and help people get it out of their system that they don't like it, and then once they try it, it sometimes sounds funny the way I say it, but I bowled on them, and I was sure I wasn't going to like it, but after you bowl for a while, you kind of forget that there's string, and you are just bowling, and every other part of the game is exactly the same, other than the pin. And so you just start realizing I'm bowling. It's my approach. It's where I throw it. It's how I hook it. It's where I play, what ball I use. Everything's the same, you know. So, and the other thing to remember too about watching it on TV is when you watch on TV, the camera zooms right in on the pin deck, and so you really can see those strings. But if you're just bowling and you're 60 feet away from them, you almost don't see them.
That's true.
They're not as easy to see as when the camera zooms right in on them.
I agree with you, Tom. I totally agree with you. The camera, you have to zoom in on the camera, you saw the string. And I guarantee you, if I go to a lane tomorrow here in Maryland and they have one, I'll be like, oh, it looks normal to me, until you see okay, this is what happened. But I agree with you. TV makes everything look bigger. Yeah. And people don't understand that. Sometimes TV makes things bigger. So that's the next topic we're going to talk about is the television. I heard that Fox is going to have the Tournament of Champions this weekend, on Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully it's not the last on Fox. So what's the scoop going on? Is it, do you know anything? Has Fox talked to you? Because I was trying to think of options for you guys to do for next year. Maybe you do really well with YouTube TV. Maybe put it on YouTube for the fans to watch. Like the finals. Like you just had the Bowl TV had the thing in Ohio this weekend with all the guys out there, the 50 Club and the 50-year-old, and Parker Bone was on there as well. Or you might see it on Bowl TV. So what's the scoop?
Well, first of all, yes, the TOC is on FS1 Saturday and Big Fox on Sunday. But then the following week, our Battle of the Brands team event is on Big Fox on Sunday. And then the playoffs final on May 24th is live on Big Fox. So we actually have 3 more Big Fox shows the rest of the season. So we have a lot to come this year. And so if it's the last one on Fox, it will actually be May 24th, which is the playoffs final. We're in the middle of negotiating with everybody. There's nothing to report yet. I am more confident than ever that there will be landing places. There will be a professional bowlers tour. It will be fun to watch and follow. And so I at least feel good about that, because when you're going through all these types of negotiations, you look at every possible scenario. And I do think that we're going to, at the end of the day, we're going to be okay. Is it taking longer than when we would have wanted? Yes. Is it going to be the way we would have drawn it up from day one? Probably not. But it's still going to be okay. And that's important for everybody to know.
Right. And I feel like bowling has been on network TV ever since ABC had it on Wide World of Sports in 1961. As the first bowling, it was I think it was the Empire Classic or something like that, and it's been the staple of bowling on TV ever since then. On network, So to me, I feel like somebody should step up out there and say, "Hey, we will love the professional bowling sport."
There's plenty of interest. There's interest from people, and there's so many more platforms now than there ever was before, and a lot of them are really emerging. The established. Legacy networks like ABC and ESPN and NBC, and it's interesting to see how things are going now, where there's these different streaming channels that people sometimes do, are on even more than they are on regular networks, and the age of people that are on them is a lot different, and so the dynamics of television and streaming and content being delivered directly to people or in different ways is actually it just changes by the day. And it used to change. It was changing fast when I did the Fox deal back in 2018, and now in 2025 it's way different. I mean, and so it's pretty wild to try to keep track of. And
right, exactly.
But I agree with you. Bowling has always been popular on TV. It's always fun to watch, and it always has helped whatever networks we're on with our established audience, but also just for random people wanting to watch something fun and entertaining and a great sport. Yeah. So wherever we land, I think we're going to help whoever we partner with.
Yeah. Before we ask Matt a question here, but PBA was actually at one point, the Professional Bowlers Tour was actually ranking better than Monday Night Football back in the the early late 70s, early 80s. In ratings. That's something to talk about. Something on a Saturday afternoon, you're doing better than Monday Night Football. And I read that.
It was just invented. Monday Night Football was just invented, and
right.
There were only 3 channels on the weekend, and more people sitting around watching sports on the weekend, and there were only 3 channels, and we weren't really up against anything.
Right.
And so we had a really strong audience, and it kept building every week. And also, there was about 5 to 10 times as many people bowling regularly in leagues back then as there are now.
Yeah.
There were, so there are a lot of dynamics that are just completely different, and you really can't compare those eras,
Right. But it's still great to talk about it. Think about the history of TV of bowling. It's been like like I said, it's been like ABC had it for so long, and then you had it on ESPN and CBS, and now Fox has it. It's great that bowling is finding a way to get onto network television somewhere.
Yeah, and we, before Fox, we had not been on broadcast television since 1996,
right?
And so or 7, and so 2019, being able to bring the PBA Tour back to Fox, back to broadcast television was a huge accomplishment, I think, and this year having 8 broadcasts on Fox, on Big Fox like we are.
Yeah.
It was really a great opportunity for our bowling fans to rally around that and make the most of that opportunity to watch these major championships unfold. Like this Sunday coming up, we're in Riviera Lanes. We're on 27 and 8. The PBA Tournament of Champions. It's on Big Fox. One of the great sports announcers in any sport, Rob Stone, is hosting it with Randy Peterson. And it's going to be on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday,
who leads by 35 pins. Double.
And so, if the bowling community and the industry and everybody involved if they don't understand the opportunity to show their power when you're given this kind of chance, well, that's a loss by bowling. So, hopefully that's what, instead of string pins or what the controversy of the week that takes everybody's eye off the ball. If they can appreciate, like you did in beginning this show, to talk about 2 incredibly cool young stars who throw the ball in an amazing way, bowling for $100,000 in PBA major championships on broadcast TV, maybe people would stop just trying to find all the bad things about it and think about that. And let's see, how can we maybe appreciate that and want this to continue? So I hope people rally around it.
I agree. Matt, you got the last question for Tom, or if you want to ask Jeff anything, Matt, go right ahead.
Yeah, Tom. So where do you see the future in bowling in 5 years?
Well, I think, it depends kind of what area you're talking about. But if you look at the young players today, one thing we've experienced in our lifetimes is a change in the way people approach the game. From the time Jason Belmonte that came to the game and came to the PBA and amplified the 2-hand style by succeeding on the PBA Tour back in 2008-9. Since then, what you see is the Ethan Fioris and the Ryan Barnes of the world who are coming up using that style or being inspired by that style. And so 5 years from now, it'll probably be even a higher percentage of emerging players who use that style. And so it'll stop being an oddity or a new thing, which it still is considered that. I think it'll become more regular by then. And at the same time, what you're seeing from E.J. Tackett and Andrew Anderson and many one-hand players is they're not shut out. They have just as great a chance to win as anybody else. Right. So I think what you're seeing is a lot of different ways to play the game. And I think that's interesting. I mean, and I think it inspires kids to take up the game and think, well, I'm going to use this style, or I'm going to try this style, or I like this, or and there's more than ever to pick.
Exactly. I think bowling has changed over the years, since the one-handed, now the two-handed, and now you have the two-handed with the thumb in the ball. Yeah, it's like, I'm thinking back when I was playing doing rocking bowls. Sometimes I was taking the thumb out and being funny like Marshall Holman. Yeah.
Well, you know, and that does remind me that I think that included in that evolution of how people throw the ball will be a lot more people learning how to spin it both ways and throw backup balls. I mean, I'll give you an example. My son bowls, and he bowled a doubles tournament with a young kid this weekend who is going to Wichita State next year.
Okay.
And my son was telling me that this kid had balls specifically for if he decided to turn around and throw backup. So he's drilling balls that way, and he's ready just in case the shot's better on the left or for whatever reason where he'd get an advantage. And he actually drills balls for that. I mean, you know, that is taking things to another level, and I think that's going to keep happening. And the idea of where you see a Darren Tang, I think somebody that can bowl both one-handed and two-handed,
Right.
Someone who can bowl left-handed and right-handed. I think more and more the way that the kids are seeing the picture of bowling, it's almost like for people like us and for Jeff and I especially, you just couldn't imagine being able to do all those things. You know, as a kid, it was hard enough just to get your hand out of it and get enough on the ball to carry. And nowadays, because of the equipment, technology, the oil patterns, the lanes, the synthetic, all the different changes of the game, these kids today can manipulate the ball effortlessly. Mm-hmm. And it's not there's no barriers mentally to doing things because we've seen the craziest styles be able to succeed, and that will just make it continue to evolve.
Right, exactly. Well, Tom and Jeff, we're going to let you go, but thank you so much for coming on tonight. And Tom, and enjoy the week in Akron, and make sure you take a good eye on Adam here because I need to get back on Monday or Tuesday in one piece. So don't
worry. Yeah, it's Tom will take good care of me. It's called when I'm up there starting Wednesday night. And actually, Tom, I'm taking
in one piece, but he'll definitely have fun.
Yes,
I know. It's called. I'm taking an Uber from the airport in Cleveland down to Riviera Lanes on Wednesday night so I can watch all the action. So I'll see you on Wednesday, Tom. Thanks so much for joining us. And Jeff, give my best to Susie. And thanks, guys.
Happy Easter, Tom. Happy Easter.
Happy
Have
Easter,
fun this
Tom
week, Adam.
and Jeff.
All right. I see it. Bye. All right. Let me log off here. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for coming on, bud.
All right. Kick me out.
I'll see you. Happy Easter.
Happy
You
Easter,
too.
Jeff. Tell Susie hi for me. Yeah.
All right, folks. That's Tom Clark, the commissioner of the PBA, and our good friend Jeff Richgels on the program. And let's now, I'm going to bring this up because our friend Mike, your buddy Adam,
yes,
he brought this up, from his, hold on here.
Oh, yeah, it's called my friend Mike Ware, who has been on the show. He's actually bowling he is in the pro-am, actually, at the,
I'm trying to get
earlier today for practice, so
here's the full string for him. There's Mika, bowling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you have Delmo right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a lot. And there's the next guy we have right now coming up on the program. Let's bring him in. Adam, if you want to bring him in, he's up on one of our guests here for the 805 spot. So,
sure. So, Chris, we have had, obviously this is TLC week and we have some incredible bowlers who are joining us. He's no stranger to those lanes. So we've got representing Storm and Penn State University, our good friend, and I know he's ready to see me on Wednesday. Our good friend Tim Mack is joining us. And also we've got Robert Lawrence and someone who bowled yesterday out there in Ohio in a doubles event. We have got Mitch Beasley as well. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. And starting with you, Mitch, just talk about bowling in the PBA 50 doubles tournament yesterday or this past weekend in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun getting to bowl doubles with the kids, and you have to remember all of the transitions from when everybody likes to get left and hook it a bunch. So I had a really good partner, and we bowled really good. Unfortunately, didn't make it to the title, but it was a good weekend.
Yeah. Well, Mitch, thanks for coming on, and thank you for your service, sir, because I didn't realize you were in the military. So congratulations on your service, and it's pretty cool that you finally got out of the service, and you said, I'm going right to the PBA Tour. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, and you made it to one of the Tournaments of Champions back in the day. I think it was 2016 or 17 against the Iceman, and it was in Oklahoma. What was it like bowling on that state? It was like bowling lanes in the middle of an arena, but it was still a lot of people around there.
Yeah, it was definitely a really good experience. Little unfortunate for a few things that happened because we bowled on a different lane surface, and there was no warm-up pairs to be warm up and loose. So I only got a couple of shots before the title match started, and they had destroyed the left lane. So it was unfortunate, but it was still a great week, and had a great time.
Yeah, I found a little clip of it. I know I didn't pick the right spot where you got a strike. Sorry about that. I was trying to. Yeah, but you can see the lanes are kind of different, from what you see today at Akron. So you're bowling. You were there today in the practice round. How's the lanes for tomorrow's qualifying?
I found them today. They were hooking quite a bit. The surface is HPL, and it's been in there for quite a while, so it's a very hooking surface. Mm-hmm. There's a little out of bounds to the right. So starting the very first probably 3 games are going to be very tricky. And then there'll probably be quite a few guys throwing urethane to try to control that early hook and the ball trying to break loose. So pair-to-pair is going to be extremely different the first 3-4 games. So that's going to be the toughest part is trying to figure out the first pairs and staying out of trouble until the lanes kind of settle down.
Yeah. So, Tim, what's your take on it? Because I know you're the coach and you got all the, you help out all the bowlers each week on TV. And I'm sorry about the microphone yesterday. It wasn't working. You're sitting around the television going, you're like trying to figure out if it's working or not. But
tell me you guys can hear me now. That's what I want to know.
I can hear you good.
I can hear you, Tim.
All right, Adam. Good to see you. First off, great to see you guys. And also, I just want to say a big shout out to Mitch. He's been a buddy of mine for a long time and has been an incredible bowler for a long time. And obviously, respect the heck out of him for a bowler. But he's got a great family. He's got a great wife, and he's got a real great support network. But he's been a great bowler for a long time. I was actually at that show in Oklahoma where the tournament was totally different. Mitch led the whole week. That week was unbelievable, and then the left lane was just impossible. And obviously, he wasn't going to beat Jesper, who was playing on the left side of the lane that week. But kudos to Mitch, came back and won a title out there at the World Series of Bowling not too long after that, which was really cool. So, Mitch, great to see you. And I kind of second. I also agree with Mitch. I thought the lanes were a little tricky early. I do think urethane is going to get used quite a bit tomorrow. It's the PBA Tour. They use it every week on the men's tour. So just about. So. The guys will blend them out, and that, like Mitch said, that place is going to be real tricky pair to pair. It always is in that building, but with the urethane being in play and how the lanes break down, it's going to be a challenge for the bowlers. I know as a tour member or tour team member for my tour, for Storm and the SPI brands, our lead Rob Gauchol, and we've got Wesley Lowe and Joey Criswanos. And myself, and we're going to have to be at the top of our game to make sure that we help our staff navigate the challenges that we're going to be facing, as not only on our tour team but also our players, And again, this is the best of the best, right? These are all champions. All these guys are winners. So that's what makes this tournament so great. And it should be a great week.
Yeah. I do have to ask you a question, Tim. How many bowling balls do you drill during the week? Because they must have a big car to put all their bowling balls in. I'm thinking, my God, how many bowling balls out there?
Listen. We've got 3. Obviously our brands. Out there with the Storm Rotor Grip and Global 9. With Global out there, 900 Global. It varies week to week, right? When the shot's a little bit more understanding, where guys are going to play a more defined area. We only drill certain balls, right? So, but there'll be some weeks, at the World Series, we probably drilled 350 balls out of the World Series, maybe more. I don't even know what the number is, but listen, the game's very technologically advanced today, and I always say this, and I think Mitch will agree with me. You could take a Hall of Fame bowler that doesn't have good ball reaction, and you can take a bowler maybe that's of less caliber with great ball reaction and beat that Hall of Fame bowler almost all the time. So it's really imperative that that we set our guys up and to give them the best possible options to strike, and obviously to navigate the challenges that are in front of them. It's a challenge every week, and the guys that stay the most patient and the guys that stay the most committed to what they're doing and make sound decisions are usually the ones that stay at the top. So it's a challenge every week, and we're looking forward to this challenge this week. It's it's in the Holy Grail of bowling. The Tournament of Champions. That title pair is something else. It's got a lot of history in it. When you walk through that building, you can't help but appreciate the people that have been there before you. Me, I'm a bowler at heart. I wish I could bowl still. At the moment, I can't. But I'll appreciate it from although I'm a tour rep, I'm also a fan of bowling. So I'm a fan of these guys, and I'm looking forward to watching how this week unfolds.
That's cool.
Amen.
Amen. Matt, do you have a question for either or?
Yeah, Tim. So, just like as a projection, who do you think is gonna win the tournament?
Listen, I think the left is going to be in play this week. I do think the left is going to have a bit of a chance than they had last week. At the Players Championship, the righties kind of dominated in qualifying and kind of got into the lefties laydown. Listen, you're talking about the guys that that usually make the TV show. It's hard to keep EJ Tackett, Anthony Simonson, and Belmo off this show. I mean, they know the building really well. They bowl really well in the center, and and obviously those guys have been the three most successful guys, over the last couple of years on tour. But something tells me there might be a little birdie that a lefty could make a big impact this week. We'll have to wait and see. It's like Mitch said earlier. Mitch is 100% correct in his assessment. I mean, you really have to see, you really have to keep your eyes and ears open and really watch what's going on in front of you. And the people that do that have the most patience, are gonna have a lot of success. I think rotation is going to be a big deal this week. Guys that can get some access rotation, because as Mitch mentioned earlier, the surface hooks quite a bit. So, delaying the ball, the ball roll to where you can get it through the fronts and through the mid, I think is going to be a benefit. And that's something that Mitch does really well. So, and a lot of other guys do well too. So, it's hard to make a prediction, Matt. It's just hard. I'll have a better understanding tomorrow after the first 6 games. Because that's when also our tour team will have to make the adjustments on what we need for the upcoming, the later blocks, and make the necessary equipment changes and what have you. And I know the Brunswick team will be doing that, and obviously the Motive team will be doing that as well. So it's it's going to be all hands on deck, and it's the last major of the year, and we're hoping we can put one of our guys in position to win that. That's the hope.
That's true. Adam, you have a question for either?
I do. So just talk about your first time being at Riviera Lanes. What was your emotion like? Seeing that sign above the doors. What was your first time at Riviera Lanes like?
Me or Mitch, Adam? Me or Mitch?
For both you guys.
Mitch, go ahead. Go, Mitch. Let Mitch go ahead.
Yeah, it's after watching so many telecasts over the years of Riviera Lanes and watching, the great Hall of Famers bowl there, it was definitely, an experience walking in for your first time, seeing the doors and walking in and thinking of all the history that's there and hoping that you're going to make some history there too. So.
Yeah, Adam, I agree with Mitch. I walked in that building in 1984 as a junior bowler in a junior tournament. I'll never forget my experience. We had a long bus ride from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and we got to bowl a junior tournament there. And then I saw that, the sign where and obviously I was a big fan of the PBA and watched bowling on TV every Saturday, and cheered on my favorites. It was like walking into the Holy Grail. I mean, that's where so many champions have been made. The history of our sport have been made, and then I didn't get a chance to walk in there until years later. And you still appreciate the history, like Mitch said. It's just obviously it's changed over the years, and things have changed, but the history of the building is still there. The paddock is still there. The bones of the building are still there. So it's a really cool place.
Yeah, and it's like when I went there last year for my first time, after seeing it on TV for so many years, seeing the sign over the doors, through these doors, past the world's finest bowlers. When I saw that, I was like, this is like Augusta National. I mean, we just had the Masters on, this past weekend. I mean, you're at like Yankee Stadium or a place like that. And if you are a bowling fan, I don't care where you live, who you are, you need to get to Riviera Lanes just once and say, I am here where legends like Marshall Holman have bowled, and Mark Roth and Walter Ray Williams Jr. and Steve Cook and Tim Monticelli. Now we have E.J. Tackett, Anthony Simonson, Jason Belmonte, Jesper Svensson. It's like lanes 28 and 29. If those lanes could talk, gentlemen, they have plenty of memories, to say about who has bowled on those iconic pair of lanes.
Yeah. I remember Matt and I went out there the first time with my ex-girlfriend to Riviera Lanes, and she's like, you want to go? But we were there for the Pro Football Hall of Fame and for the weekend and she goes, you want to go bowl? I'm like, all right. So I knew we're in Akron. You're outside of Canton, New Jersey. I'm like, Canton, Ohio. And I'm like, okay, let's just drive out there. And we went there, and I walked in there. I'm like, all right, this is Yankee Stadium, but it doesn't look like Yankee Stadium. What happened here? Because I was so used to I was waiting for Chris Schenkel at the door going, you're here for the Tournament of Champions, Chris, are you? And I'm like, and I'm thinking like, okay, I didn't get that vibe the first time. The second time I walked in there, I'm going, okay, this place is pretty small. Why am I sitting behind this guy? Because people don't realize how tiny the place is. But on TV they make it huge and miraculous. But back then, and then when you walk in there as you and your eyes only, you're gonna go, oh my God. And then it was a great, and Matt and I had a great time. Besides, we had a problem getting home in the snow, because we forgot it was supposed to snow in Ohio, and they don't know how to plow in Ohio. So that's a good tip for everybody to watch. Do not go there when it snows, because they forgot to plow 77, right, Matt? Remember that? We thought we were going to die.
Well, I mean, Chris, it was snowing so hard, and I was looking outside, and it was laying. And I'm not just talking like a few little flurries. It was laying to where the roads were covered. I said, Chris, we need to go. He's like, oh, no, Matt, we're fine. I said, no, Chris, we need to go now because it's laying. And if it's laying here, it's going to be laying on the highway, and it's going to be treacherous. And so then we finally left about 5 minutes later. And so I was driving so slow, and this is on the highway. And it was just unbelievable how the highway wasn't even plowed or treated or anything. And so once we got to Pennsylvania, it was fine. But, trying to get home was very treacherous. I had to drive be extremely careful and cautious. And, but that was a journey that Chris and I had going home that evening.
Yeah, we had a great time with that, guys. So. Anyway, we were up against the clock here, but Tim and Mitch, thanks for joining us tonight. And Tim, good luck with your Penn State, Nittany Lions this year. I know you want to take it down to Ohio State, and hopefully that trophy's not broken by
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Hey, Craig. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's great to share the stage with Mitch.
I'll see you Wednesday night, Tim.
Well, Adam, we'll see you there. And Mike, thanks, guys, for letting me come on and talk a little bit about the bowling. And appreciate your show. And Mitch, looking forward to tomorrow morning. You guys have a great night. Thanks again, guys.
All right, Mitch. Thanks, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
All right, see you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mitch.
All right, Mitch Beasley on the show with us. And then we got also coming up here in a minute here. We got Robert Lawrence is going to join us. He's here.
Cool.
So we're going to bring him down. And then we got the young guy, Robert Lawrence, the old guy. Hi, Robert. How you doing?
Good, guys. How y'all?
And then we'll
Good,
bring in
good.
Manny Farrell, who is a young guy bowling in the Tournament of Champions tomorrow. So let's bring in Manny. So,
Yeah,
hi,
what up,
Manny.
guys?
How you doing,
What
bud?
up?
Thanks for coming
Good.
on.
How are you guys?
Not bad. So let's start with the young kid. How nervous were you today bowling in Akron, and where all the legends like Robert Lawrence used to bowl on television, and you see EJ there, and you see Tim Mack walking around helping out people. How nervous were you?
I mean, I wasn't super nervous. Obviously, there's always nerves going into it, but I mean, right now, I mean, I bowled majority of like the stops after I bowled the World Series, I bowled the Masters, and been hanging out with these guys out here. But I was pretty nervous, like always, going into a bowling tournament. But this one's kind of just a surreal feeling because you see these all over the YouTube channels. They're like, oh, this is the place to be. The TOC is always here. And so it's definitely been nice. I was a little nervous walking in today, but I got my feet under me, so I'm excited.
Yeah. So what about you, Robert? I know you bowled, when we we were kids growing up, you're probably there, bowling every year when the tour stopped. And it used to be the last one in April before the Kentucky Derby, on ABC. So now it's like, 2 weeks after or 2 weeks before the Kentucky Derby. But what's your feel like today going back to the center to where you were bowling? Probably almost not young as Manny, but, almost similar to, a young kid going into a popular center.
Well, he may not have been nervous, but I was nervous because young guys all around me throwing it with two hands, and rev rates at least a couple hundred more than me. So the first 30 minutes of it, I wasn't getting the ball off my hand very good today, but it always feels good to walk back in this place. I know it's under a new name and all that, but I think I got to bowl here, back in the days in the early 90s 3 times before they moved it to Chicago. But it really meant a lot when we came to this town back then. Every bowler in the tournament, their name was on a street sign all up along the whole main street.
Mm-hmm.
Every street had a different bowler's name up, and it was a big deal. And so that was a lot of fun. So when I got to come back here, I think it was 3 years ago when my buddy Big West got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I was coming up to do that. And they said, hey, there's no entry fee, you should bowl. I'm like, okay, I bowled. I wasn't ready to bowl. I hadn't been bowling for 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 guys I beat in the tournament both withdrew. That's the only reason I beat them. So I said, I got to get back up here and try this again. And one thing I learned today and realized today, and it hit me, was in 44 years of being a PBA member since 1981, this is the first tournament of the thousands I've bowled. This is the first tournament I've ever bowled where I'm the oldest guy in the tournament.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of hit me today. So, yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy. So, Manny, what it was like today in practice? Was the lanes different? Because I heard Tim Mack was saying it was a little treacherous. You guys might have to do some urethane on tomorrow or whatever. What's your game plan for a young kid like you? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I mean, what Tim was saying with urethane, it's kind of hard to get away from that, especially with seeing all the mills that were getting put out nowadays. I mean, you kind of look at majority of the stops this year, and there's definitely been a more urethane dominant year. Luckily for me, I got that 16-pound black hammer. The numbers are going to be different, but I think it's going to come down to just who can really stay in front of the moves and the transition, especially in this building, because I've heard it does get very tricky from side to side. But I mean, my game plans, start with urethane and then just shot by shot tomorrow. Go from there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Robert, what's your take tomorrow? Because I know it's going to be a little treacherous in the morning because I heard that it's weird, different patterns. So what's your game plan?
Well, I thought I had a little bit of a game plan until the first 30 minutes happened. And I thought, well, I'm pretty good at throwing a black hammer, urethane, and staying out of trouble. And I'm watching these guys peel it off the corner, and it looked pretty good. And my ball went right through the 3-6 every shot. I'm like, I'm not the same urethane bowler I was 30 years ago, but I may have to use urethane for about a game just to try to stay out of trouble because it
Mhm.
You know, if throwing reactive and you pinch it a little bit or whatever, a little left, it's easy to miss the head pin completely left early on until the lanes calm down and flatten out a little bit. And so game plan, probably trying to keep it in front of me for a game if it works out that way. And then it's a big jump left.
Okay. Matt, do you have a question for both of them or one of them?
Matt's frozen.
Matt,
Matt's
are you
gone.
sleeping? Matt, are you sleeping? Are you sleeping?
No, his eyes are
Well, I'll
open.
go, Chris. It's called. I'll
Yeah,
go. So
we'll log them off.
I'll
and
go.
they'll-
So
go ahead, Adam.
yeah. So Manny, what's it been like to bowl with the best in the PBA tour, like EJ Tackett, Jason Belmonte, Anthony Simonson, Jesper Svensson? You know, when you've bowled on the PBA tour.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. You go from like seeing people obviously of the big names, but it's even like just like watching Brad and Kyle growing up. You know, there was the house. So, you know, AJ Chapman and Nick, Pate, Mitch, Packy, Kevin, like that whole group. It's pretty crazy. It's kind of surreal feeling. I mean, it's just great being out here, kind of just achieving the dream and chasing it. But I mean, just being able to be paired or let alone bowl the same tournament as some of them, it's definitely a crazy feeling, and it's awesome. It's hard to put into words, but it's definitely super cool.
Yeah, and it's it's like Chris and I, Manny, we grew up watching Robert Lawrence and Marshall Holman and Mark Roth and some of the greats on the PBA tour when it was on ABC Sports. And now you see EJ Tackett, Anthony Simonson, Jason Belmonte, Jesper Svensson. So it's pretty incredible where the sport of bowling's got. And Robert, but what was it like to be around Chris Schenkel and Nelson Burton Jr. when they were interviewing you, for ABC Sports?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Chris Schenkel was just an awesome human being. And I became good friends with Bo early on, even before I went out full time. I bowled enough in the 80s, enough tournaments every year to get to know all those guys. And then when I went out full time in 1990, had a really good start, really good year, won a couple times. But then I also got to start working for ABC Sports for the PBA Tour for ABC. When I wasn't on the show, I was in the back in one of the trucks working in the production of the show. And so got to hang out with all those crews and then got to know Chris a lot more, and just great people. And those were great times getting to work with those guys.
Yeah, it was. I think that was a great time for bowling, and right now it's up in the air because they don't. Tom's working on the contract and trying to figure out what he's going to do, and and I hope they stay on Fox, and hopefully Fox could expand it a little bit better, and maybe they can work on their theme song a little bit better because
we need the Rolling Orange ball like they had back in the day for the intro. When you were bowling, Robert. I mean, I'll say this. I'll go on. It's called, if there's nothing good on YouTube or on TV, I'll go on YouTube and I'll go watch a classic PBA tour event from like 1987 or 88 or 1990. Seeing all the stops that were, I can, it's like, I grew up in New England, so I always remember the last stop before the Firestone. It was the Greater Hartford Open at Bradley Bowl at Windsor Locks, Connecticut, and it was like, and then
it's always
next
cool.
week it was like, here comes the Firestone. It's like, I wish like the PBA Tour nowadays would go back to having like, just, like instead of calling it the Tournament Champions, just call it the Firestone for all us fans that grew up watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you didn't even have to say Tournament of Champions back then. You just said the Firestone. That's all you said was the Firestone, and they knew what you were talking about.
Yeah,
exactly. Manny, we're pretty old. I just want to let you know we're old.
It's all good.
Pretty old. Okay.
But let's bring in another guy who actually was there, who bowled in the tournament in the Firestone. Let's bring Don Genalo in because he's sitting there patiently. He's retired from the post office. And Don, thank you so much for taking my email. And I was thinking of the Tournament of Championships this week, and I'm like, I remember this guy bowled when I was a kid on TV, and I think in 1986.
Makes you feel older.
You know, and in
I think
1990,
I was a kid.
Yeah, we were on tour together.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Don, thanks for coming on tonight. Just talk about. I know you're not bowling. You're bowling league now at on your time of being retired from the post office. But back when you were in your heyday, bowling on the professional bowlers tour, what was it like bowling in that mecca in Akron?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, and the only thing that I wasn't crazy about was the paddock was the size of a closet, but the press room was just amazing. They had desks lined up with reporters. You had a stage with at least the top 5 on there. We were just treated like kings. It was wonderful.
Yeah. So we're showing a little clip of the 86 Tournament of Champions. It's funny.
That must have been the game I lost to Baker.
Yeah, it's funny. You lost to Baker in 86, and then you got your revenge in 1990.
Right.
Yeah, so I was like looking at it yesterday going, you got his revenge. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was like, but by the same score. It's funny. He lost you beat him by the same score that he lost to him in 86.
I never actually paid attention to it.
Yeah,
I
was doing the stats yesterday.
No, there was a chance to move up and maybe have a shot at winning it and couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, but just like you said, back then it was a big stage, and it had all the writers, and had it, basically had this week I was looking on the computer trying to find if anybody's covering it in the Akron area, and nobody.
Nobody?
Yeah, nobody.
That's a shame. The Akron Beacon Journal used to do a
Yeah,
fantastic
they used to do a lot of stuff like that. Yeah,
there were a lot of reporters there.
Definitely not the same.
Let's bring Matt back in. Matt had a little technical difficulties. Matt, are you awake finally?
Well, I've been awake.
Yeah, because you were so frozen, and Robert was wondering you took a nap.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Probably my technology took a nap, but yeah.
Anyway,
I love technology.
Well, yeah, Rob. Well, that's the thing. It's like when technology works is good, but when it doesn't, it's like technology's taking a nap.
Yeah, well, Scott, you see, we see Robert is called. When I'm not doing this, I work at a grocery store, so I'm a bagger and cashier. So when I'm a cashier, sometimes and the register goes down, it's like I say to my manager, "Isn't technology wonderful?"
Yeah.
It's like we have to restart the register and ring everything up again. It's like it gets frustrating. You know what I mean, Robert?
Yeah, me and technology don't get along.
Oh, okay, Robert.
I've got a son-in-law that's a big tech guy, and it seems like we're on the phone with him all the time. The only problem is he lives in California, so it's a bit of a.
Well, I work at a new job now, and I went from 2025 with everything in the operating system working to 1980 when you have to type everything in and you have to, enter. You got to type in the item. I'm like, are you serious? And I'm like, this is like, and I called my mother up because she used to work in the bank back in the 70s. She told me stories about it. I was like, I feel like what you went through in the 70s when you had to count every quarter, every dime, every nickel. And she's like, yeah, we were there sometimes until 4 hours and somebody screws up. You got to do it all over again. I'm like, oh, God. Yeah, but
Hey,
anyway.
I think you lost Manny with all this talk.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm still listening. I'm sorry.
Back to the bowling alley tomorrow. Man, this guy's from from Baltimore. Here.
No, you guys are all good. You guys are good.
Anyway,
Okay.
so Manny, you got Don and you got Robert there. Is there anything you want to ask those two fine gentlemen? If you have any questions.
Sorry, what was that? You guys started.
He hasn't hung around with us, has he, Robert?
I don't know. Do you have any questions for Robert or Don? Because Don and Robert used to be, regulars on TV, and you're on television. So, would you have anything you want to ask them?
I mean, what was it like? Like, just give me a good rundown on how your guys' tournaments would start.
Go ahead, Don.
Oh, okay.
Shows to me, probably.
I was just talking about this with somebody else earlier today, talking about the differences in today's tour and back then. We bowled a lot more events, and from I'm hearing longer formats. So we were bowling 34 to 36 events, and not only were we bowling a lot more games, they didn't oil between squads. I mean, guys talk about how dry the lanes are now. You bowl a 3-squad national, 8 games each, and you get on C Squad and you're going, what? I got to get that far left. I mean, Robert was used to playing a little bit further left than me, but you get me into fourth arrow, it's like, okay, I hope it's a grind because
I actually say
territory for me.
we bowl on too many freshes now. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These guys don't know what it's like to bowl on the burn. C Squad, when you've got 16 games on it already. And, and the guys back then, me especially, being a straight player, if they put a lot of oil down, we burned out the heads with we called it charcoal, the sanded balls. So the guys got out there for C Squad, and you're like, where'd all the oil go, man?
Manny, I'll just say, don't be too much of a fan while you're on there. I know when I bowled some of my first tournaments, I was busy watching guys for the wrong reason. I was watching them in awe of them instead of knowing that I'm competing against them. But it's cool to watch, but find guys like yourself that throw the ball similar. If you see 1 or 2 guys actually scoring and you're not quite sure, watch what they're doing. See what they're doing and what they're getting away with. That's all I'll say is get caught up watching for the right reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly what something else on what Robert's saying is watch where they're getting the ball to, not only where they're laying the ball down, but even if you're not exactly similar to them, you might be able to get the ball to their break point and still figure something out. So yes, watch the other players in the hope of learning something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey Chris, it's called the one thing that we're missing right now is the ABC Sports intro for the PBA Tour, because we have Don and Robert on, who obviously
I got it. Hold on, let me bring it up. I got
well,
it.
Yeah, it's called. We need to do this right, So
yeah, hold on, I think I got it right here. Hold on.
Yeah, it's how we need this.
Here we go.
Bring that good. Here we go.
I just love listening to this song sometimes.
It was especially fun when you were there on Saturday and you were getting ready to start.
Oh, really?
You had a shot at titles.
I mean, it's like I remember, like when living in New Hampshire, Saturday at 3 p.m. ABC Sports had the PBA Tour, and then at 4:30 was ABC's Wide World of Sports, and so it's like having you guys on tonight, Robert and Don, brings back plenty of memories. Growing up in New England, so it's like I'm looking forward, to going to Akron, flying there Wednesday to beat Riviera Lanes for a second consecutive year, and it's like when I walked in there for the first time last year, I was like, whoa, I feel like I'm at Augusta National or Yankee Stadium. It's like I have been looking forward to going back ever since last year and have 2 people on who know what those lanes are, know that center is truly incredible for me. So thank you for bringing back plenty of memories for me tonight.
You're welcome. So like I said, I love that stop. We were treated so well there, and it was exciting to bowl there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bowling back in the 80s and early 90s on the ABC was great. I think it was like the best time, and I'm sad that the PBA and ABC had a bad fallout. That's what we found. Adam and I found out. Throughout the years. I
don't know what happened. If I could change one thing about their show right now, we'd go back to a set time every week.
Thank you. Yeah,
I don't think any show, regardless of what it is, that's successful, that moves the times around and does tape delays. It's just my opinion. I'm not on their decisions are above my pay grade, but I think whether it's Tuesday night or Saturday afternoon, go to the same thing every week.
Right.
Thank you.
And I think Saturday afternoon, it was 3 o'clock. Then it was bowling was back when I was a kid. It was like what 3:30.
3:30, I believe it started.
Yeah. And then went to 3 o'clock. It was 3 to 4:30. I know that because I remember my brothers got mad at me during the wintertime. You want to go to play basketball? No, I'm watching bowling until 4:30. Sorry. Yeah. They're like, really?
What?
Yeah. But Robert, I found something. I found an old clip of you, real quick, because I hopefully this might, bring you back to, some of the, the
It's funny, Robert, how we sometimes dread that, right?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is Sacramento back in 1992.
That's like one of the worst shows I ever had.
I just found a strike. I just needed something
Oh,
like
when
yeah.
you found the one strike I threw that game.
Really?
Gotta love the trip wars.
Let me tell you that tournament there was maybe in the history of my bowling the best I've ever bowled. I led that by 200 pins over the next guy, and second through sixth were all lefties. So it was almost like I wasn't even supposed to be on that show.
That's right,
But
Robert.
come show
Yeah,
day,
no,
they made. I say they used to sometimes play tricks with the lanes. You know, you didn't have these computerized lane machines. So that day of the show, I didn't quite really have a chance. So
no, it's called.
What did they call it back then? The educated adjustment, or I can't remember the exact terminology. But.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's like I believe you had one. I believe it was either Mike or Mark Scroggins was
Mike
on that.
Scroggins, yeah.
I'm with you, Robert. I mean, for Robert and Don, what was it like to bowl against the greats when you guys were around? I mean, I know you guys got plenty of stories. What happened during qualifying and the match play. I mean, it's like I feel like we need Chris Schenkel here.
I'll tell you, bowling Mike on that show, Mike Scroggins, it was his first show ever.
Yes.
We were roommates. He had come out on tour and room with me and Del Ballard and Bill Oakes, the four of us traveling together. And then he makes the show. Then I got to bowl him. And it just so happened also that when he beat me, he bumped me out of the Tournament of Champions. I was on the bubble when he beat me, and he was my roommate. So, but luckily I won later that year and got back into the TSC. But so bowling Mike and watching him have the whole lane or whatever, it was a little, and me having nothing. It was a.
Did he buy you dinner?
I obviously was happy for him, but not for me at all.
Did he buy you dinner that night?
No.
What?
I had to get in my car because Dell and Bill had already taken off the day before. I had to drive all the way from Sacramento to Las Vegas to catch a plane and fly home. So
okay.
Robert.
And dwell on finishing second the whole way.
Reliving that, isn't that a nice drive?
I mean, this is like I'm here with like two people I grew up with. I never thought I would, it's like this is fun. It's like so Matt, you got a question for Don?
Well, actually, I got a question, general question. So, did anyone you guys watch the Masters over the weekend?
I watched Sunday.
Yeah. We watched a little bit.
So what did you guys think of Rory McIlroy now as a legend, winning the Masters and now completing the career Grand Slam?
I thought it was cool. So,
I mean, I think that's everyone's dream is to become like a legend in their sport. But I think it was definitely cool watching.
Yeah.
And I mean, even went into a playoff hole. I thought that was awesome, and I don't think it could have ended better for him. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yep.
I loved it.
Don, what do you think?
Go ahead.
I was kind of after he hit the bad second shot on 18 the first time around. I was waiting to see if he would overcorrect and go left, but he hit an amazing shot. So, God bless him. I mean, a lot of people after the shot he hit at 15 would have just folded up. He did a great job coming back.
Right.
I love this reaction.
And I mean, he showed a lot of perseverance, a lot of, just overcoming a lot of stuff. I mean, he had 2 double bogeys that final round and blew the lead, the 3-shot lead they had and then at one point at that final round Sunday, he was losing by a stroke, and then he had to come back to, win it, and then he blew it at the end with making a bogey because, there was a ton of nerves. So for him to have all that, just overcoming all those obstacles, and then to get in the right mindset of, I'm now going to be a playoff match with Justin Rose for one playoff hole. It shows a ton of grit and that he was able to make a couple great shots, hit the ball within a couple feet of the hole to make a very easy birdie, and it was a tremendous finish. And with that, he is now a legend in golf. I mean, he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Well, guys, we got to get going here, but thank you so much for coming on tonight, and Don and Rob, thanks for coming on, and Manny, thanks for listening to the old guys. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, of course. It was awesome. That was good. It was nice.
Yes.
They keep throwing that old in there, Robert. What's going on here?
Hey, no, wait a minute. It's called you
There's
guys are
senior gentlemen here, who are.
I'm having fun.
Chris. They're
Great seeing you
legends
again,
of
Robert.
sport.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm going to try to have
Thanks,
fun,
Don.
but Don,
Thanks,
it's great
guys.
to see you, Don, after all these years. And Manny, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll see you, Rob. I will be there Wednesday night. For
I'm not sure if I'll still
round.
be here.
All right,
Hopefully, I'll still be here.
All right. Well,
right.
it's called Enjoy, guys. And
All right.
thank you for
All right,
bringing
guys.
back.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Don. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Manny. Thanks, bud. See you.
Oh, that-
All right.
Bye.
See you, Don.
See you, Don.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, jeez, there's a lot of things going on. All right.
I know.
We're going to switch gears here. This gentleman we know who's been on our show for a very long time, and he is finally retiring. Spent a lot of years covering Pittsburgh sports, and he's been covering he's been covering the Pirates and the Panthers and everybody, the Pittsburgh Panthers and the Pirates and the Steelers. So Jerry DiPaola is with us on the show here. So Jerry, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know you are happy retirement, sir. We appreciate you making us part of our, you come on our show all the time, but just talk about the end of the road for you. When did you know it was time for you to say, hey, I'm done with this?
Well, I almost did it a year ago, but I thought about it in the spring, about this time a year ago. I decided, what the heck, I'll work one more year. I'm 70 years old. I'll be 71 next month. And I figured, working 6 years, almost 6 years past the normal retirement age was plenty. And, I want to spend some time with the family, with the grandkids. I have 6 grandkids. And I think I owe them a little bit because there's a lot of times that I'm, stuck at home, looking after a story, making a phone call, waiting for a phone call. I missed some things, some family things. I think it was the best thing for me to do at this point, being that I've already worked at the Trib 32 years and in the business 53 years.
Oh, wow. Jeez. And a lot's been changed since the time that you came out of college. Yeah, I was reading your story about yourself. You used to grab all the newspapers and look at the box scores, and you were looking to see if Roberto Clemente, got a single, and what was it like watching those Pirates back in the day?
Well, it was interesting. In our house, my parents weren't great sports fans, but I was. But they would always have the games on at night. Bob Prince and Jim Woods were the announcers back then, and we would always sit in the back porch, listen to the ball games. And, my dad, like I said in the article, my dad took me to a Pirate game at Forest Field almost every year they were home for my birthday, which is May 30th, and that was always a big treat for me. And the Pirates had pretty mediocre teams in the '60s after they won the World Series. But in '71, I was a senior in high school. They won the World Series, and then '79, when I was out of college 3 years, they won a second World Series. And as you know, they haven't done much since '79. So right now things are pretty sorry bunch right now. They're winning tonight against the Nationals 5-3, I think, in the 8th inning. But it doesn't look like they're going to have a winning season this year. It's early. You never know.
Right. Yeah, it's still early in the year. People like they're already writing off the Orioles down here in Baltimore. Oh, they're going to stink, and they're not going. I'm like, come on, guys, it's after 12 games. Give me a break.
Well, with the they have the worst overall batting average in the major leagues.
Oh wow.
It's under there. Like I was looking at the lineup tonight. There's 5 guys in the lineup tonight who would hit under 200. Under the Mendoza line. So, but they managed to get 5 runs tonight. Paul Skeens was the starting pitcher. So if the bullpen can hang on, they can break the losing streak.
Yeah. So you started covering, when you got older, you got a chance to cover the Steelers, and that must have been a cool thrill for you, being a kid from Pittsburgh covering the NFL team and get a chance to know all the players, coaches, and who was your favorite Steelers person you like to interview?
I always like talking to Jerome Bettis. He was a fun guy to talk to. Always open, always accommodating, very friendly. And you can go into the locker room when you cover NFL teams. You can't do that with college teams. And you can walk around the locker room and build relationships with guys. And that was always good. The Steelers had a running back by the name of Deuce Staley at one time, who I became kind of friendly with. Cordell Stewart and I had a decent relationship. And things worked out well. One guy I didn't have a good relationship with was Alan Faneca. Okay. And that was I guess I can tell a quick story about that if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the Steelers played the Ravens in 2004, I think it was the first game of the season. Tommy Maddox was the starting quarterback, and Roethlisberger was the first round draft pick rookie. And Maddox started the season as a starter, and he got hurt in the Ravens game that day. And then Roethlisberger came in, and I believe they ended up winning that game. But then Maddox was going to be out for a while, and Ben, of course, was going to be starting quarterback. So the day after the game, I asked Alan Faneca, a question about what do you feel like to be playing behind a rookie quarterback that's never taken a snap in the NFL before. And he looked at me and says, "What do you think it's going to feel like? It's no good. I don't like playing with a rookie quarterback." And he got a lot of crap for it. And I use the story. Everybody else uses. I use quote in the story. And he got mad and he says, "DiPaola, you set me up." I didn't really set him up. I just asked him a simple question, and he gave an honest answer.
Right.
He wasn't sure about Big Ben at that time. Who knew he was going to become a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback? But at that point, Faneca wasn't sure, and he gave an honest answer to his question. And some of the fans didn't like it, but hey, that's all you ask when you ask a question. When you're a reporter, for honesty from these guys, and I give Alan credit for being an honest guy. Now he's in the Hall of Fame, so everything's cool. Nice,
that's awesome. Matt, you have a question for Jerry?
Yeah. So what's your opinion about Jerome Bettis? I mean, I know that he was great with Notre Dame and also with the Steelers. So how do you think that his career progressed from Notre Dame in college to Pittsburgh?
And one of the greatest running backs of all time, as far as I'm concerned, and the stats, prove it out. And he was also a very friendly guy. A guy that was always accommodating, like I said before. But yeah, he had a good career at Notre Dame. He was not even a trade actually with the Rams, the draft day trade, as a matter of fact, in 1995, I guess. These drafts all run together.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's one of the greatest of all time, and one of the greatest Steeler running backs of all time. Right up there next to Franco Harris, probably number 2 behind Franco Harris. But and Jerome was always a good ambassador of the city too. He was good for the team, a good guy in the locker room, good teammate, good leader, and of course a guy you always count on. If you get inside the 5-yard line, Jerome usually got you the touchdown.
Yeah.
Nice. And then just one other question. So what made you want to retire after 32 years?
Well, you know what? After 53 years in the business and sticking my nose in a computer, every single day of the week, I figured it's time for some me time. I hate to sound selfish about that, but I figured I want to spend some more time with the family, and I still enjoy the job. I still could do the job at the age of almost 71, but at some point you want to sit back and put your feet up and relax. And I tell you what, today was the first official day of my retirement, because my last day of work was this past Saturday in Pitt's spring game. So today was the first day of having nothing to do, and it felt good. Pitt made some news, actually. They got a guy in the transfer portal, for a point guard and transfer portal guy from Oregon State, and one of their wide receivers went into the transfer portal, and I didn't need to worry about it. I just sort of sat back and read the stories that somebody else read.
That's cool. That must be a good feeling, Jerry, getting up this morning going, "Oh, I don't have to work today." That's good.
Exactly. That'll be the feeling every day of the week. But I'll keep myself busy. I'm a substitute teacher here in one of the local school districts in my neighborhood. So I'll be doing that hopefully 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah. I do have to ask you, you and your relationship with Pat Dorduzzi. You know, he's a cool guy. Adam and I know him because we ran into him a couple of years ago at the ACC. It was in between media day. They had the media people at a hotel, and it was a lunch thing. And EJ came over with Pat, and Pat won that golf tournament down in Atlanta. You know, the par 3 thing.
Right.
And I asked him, like, "How's your golf game?" He goes, "I didn't really have a golf game." So
I remember that, Chris. I remember that.
You know, we did a good job. We won. So we saw him the next morning because he was the first one on the stage, and he looked. I said, "Hey, coach," and he goes, "Hey." I said, "How was the evening?" He goes, "How was your evening?" I was like, "Well, I came home and did my podcast. You know that."
Yeah, that's right.
And he's such a great guy. And what was like the relationship with Pat?
Well, I think it was a relationship built on mutual respect and even admiration. I like Pat a lot. You know, him and I, would have some battles in some good-natured battles in news conferences when I would ask a question, about injuries. He didn't like that. He'd lower his eyes and say to me, "Jerry, you know better than that. We don't talk about injuries." I'll tell you another quick story. 2 years ago, I had a minor wrist injury. I fell down and broke a little bone in my wrist. So I had a brace on it. It was late in the football season. I had the brace on it, and with a news conference a couple of days later, he sees me wearing the brace. He says, "What did you do to your wrist?" I said, "Coach, we don't talk about injuries." Okay. He said, "Finally you get it, Jerry. Finally you get it." The other day in practice, I was standing there watching practice, spring practice, and he called me out on the middle of the field and brought me up and introduced me to the team. He gathered the team around me and introduced me to the team and told me how when he was being hired at Pitt in 2014, I used to call him every day, try to get the news confirmed, and he actually appreciated my diligence. He told that to the team, and then they presented me with a jersey, a Pitt jersey.
Yeah, I got the photograph.
With a number 53 on it.
Yeah,
which signifies 53 years in the business, going all the way back to 1972. So that was kind of nice. I enjoyed that, and I actually put my ugly mug up on the scoreboard on Saturday when they had the spring game at Acrisure Stadium. So it was a pretty nice couple of weeks, as my daughter called it, my farewell tour. Yeah, it was fun.
That's cool. So, Adam, you have a question for Jerry?
I do. So, by the way, Jerry, now that you're retired, you're always welcome here in the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. A lot of people, retire down here. So if you ever want to come, you and your family are always welcome. So, you mentioned your favorite Pittsburgh Steeler to cover. Who is your favorite Pittsburgh Pirate baseball player to cover?
Well, yeah, I didn't cover the Pirates nearly as much as I covered Pitt and the Steelers. There were some good guys. I really liked a pitcher they had a few years ago, Stephen Bolt, who's now on the broadcast. Actually, he does the pre and post game shows. Smart guy. Was a really good hitter when in college, and he came up to pinch hit a few times as a pitcher. He was always a fun guy to talk to. A smart guy, had interesting things to say. Like I said, I really didn't know the Pirates all that much. I was backup beat writer for the Pirates. Kevin Gorman for the Trib is the guy who goes to most of their games and goes to spring training. I enjoyed talking to Bolt, and I guess of all the Pirate players I got to talk to, he was most favorite because he was the most quotable. Yeah. And usually the guy who's the most quotable and he makes your story sound better is the guy you like best.
Right. Exactly. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on the phone tonight and day one on your retirement. And what are you doing for the rest of your summer and all? Are you guys going on vacation and chilling out at home?
Vacations are over. We've already been to Hawaii and Disney World already this year.
Nice.
I used to never take vacations during the season, but I decided to do it this year since I knew I was going to be retiring. But we'll just be around the house doing some things with family. We have a staycation for the entire summer.
That's cool. Nice. That's awesome. Well, thanks for being such a good friend of our program from day one since when I started this with you in 6 years ago, guys, something like that.
And it was 2018. I met you down in
Summer. Around there. That's when I started doing this. After we used to do our stuff on Live 365, and I'm like, I want to have my own sports show. Let's just do it. And Ewan is a good guy, a good friend of ours down at Tampa, and he's going through a lot of things, but he'll be back. But he will send your blessing because he enjoyed talking to you too.
Great. Good.
Yeah,
I
so.
enjoyed being on your podcast, Chris. Call anytime.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Good
see you.
evening.
All right, bye.
Chris, did we ever meet Jerry DiPaola in person?
Yeah, so I met him so many times up at Pittsburgh. He used to wear his little hat, and
Yeah, well, it's called. Did we ever see him? The last couple of years at the
No. What happened was Charlotte. The newspaper. He was telling me that the last time he went down there was 2019 or something.
Okay.
And they cut out the budget for him to go down there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, I was thinking like, I think I've met him in person, but
You probably did. I mean, maybe in travels. Maybe we're at
probably. Yeah.
Funny story happened. We were talking about that situation at DC today. So
Oh yeah.
So here's a little sound. Here's a little video from that, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't. Did you like the dope?
Yep.
I added that.
Chris, you're good. I don't care what anybody says.
Adam.
I'm sorry. I feel bad for the Ohio State, picking up, and Adam, you and I and Matt, we've seen that trophy in person.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I think there's probably should be a rule: do not touch it.
Well, I've never touched it. I've never touched it in
We
Charlotte.
don't pick it up and walk out the door with it.
Well, I've never. I've got my picture with it, and it's like, but it's like I don't want to touch it because it's like I don't want something. I don't want something to happen. It's like it's like off limits. So it's called let the players and coaches touch it. I'll just.
Yeah. Well, we do have a funny thing I got to show you, man. I don't know if you got my text message today, but Roy winning the Grand Slam. I think he's sponsored by his company.
Oh, that's what that was for the Denny's Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Chris, I was wondering why is he sending me a picture of Rory winning the Masters in the green jacket and eggs and pancakes? It's like, what in the world? But okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, so I sent it to my father, guys. I go, and my dad goes, "Sorry, I have $6."
Chris.
Oh man. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up the program here.
But Chris, before we do go, I do want to send out a congrats to Rory McIlroy, the 2025 Masters champion. And let me tell you that,
I got the clip for you. Let me finish this up. This is the last of their votes here. So here is the final shot for Rory yesterday.
The long journey is over. McIlroy has his masterpiece.
Reaction in since 2014.
He's there to console his friend who he admires so much.
Justin's a good man.
He is incredible. Pure class. Arm in arm with his best man. and overcome with emotion.
Wow, that's such a heart-wrenching moment there.
That guys, that was the best ever. I mean, and when that is a perfect example of never ever give up on your dreams.
Right.
It took him 11 years to win the Masters, to win the Grand Slam, okay, and he never gave up. Even
Right.
with him, double bogeying and all that stuff in the final round. And then he eventually bogeyed on the final hole to then go into a playoff with Justin Rose and to win it with a birdie. But never give up on what your dreams and goals are, okay? You can always persevere. You can always push through the obstacles, the challenges in life. And that is a perfect example right there. Rory McIlroy's career could have gone a much different direction, but you know what? With him winning the Masters last night, I watched every single second throughout the whole week. Okay, with him winning the Masters, he is now etched as a legend forever in the game. Forever. He is only one of 6 men in the game of golf to win the Grand Slam.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up the show here, but we're going to move the show next Wednesday night because next Monday is Easter Monday, and somebody's coming back from Akron. So we're going to move it to Wednesday night because I don't think anybody's going to tune in on Easter Monday. So
it's also Patriots Day for
people in Boston, right?
People in Massachusetts, and it's the annual Boston Marathon, and the Red Sox play their annual game at 11 a.m. And so it's like, yeah. So
and we'll start talking about the NFL draft because next Thursday is draft.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll see if we could pull somebody from all the teams to come on and talk about the NFL draft next Wednesday night for maybe an hour and a half. Get you guys ready for Thursday. So, but we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We're sorry we couldn't get Steve Cook. We'll get him on. Eugene McCune. We'll try to get him on another time. I guess things didn't work out the right way, but we appreciate all the bowlers who came on tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast this week. Saturday on FS1, you'll see that guy right there, probably in the in the front row with his bowling pin costume. Maybe
it's called. We'll see.
Guys at Herb FM Radio, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
We'll see, Chris. We'll see. It's like
before we go, our condolences go out to Vicky Brick, the lady who passed away here in Maryland. She used to be a Terp back in the day, and the reason I'm bringing this up because my girlfriend's family were friends with that family, and Nicole worked with her at Brick Bodies. It's one of these fitness places here. She passed away from cancer last week, and our condolences go out to her family and the rest of the group there at Brick Bodies in Towson. So we wanted our condolences to the mayor and also to the Lady Terps basketball program as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, I want to wish you all a happy Easter.
Happy Easter! Happy Easter! You can watch some Easter eggs being rolled down
the lane,
bowling lane on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
Look for me in the crowd, and I look forward, to going back, seeing everyone, seeing Tim Mack, and whoever else I'll see, and it'll be good, to see all my friends from the PBA tour, and it'll be a good way to celebrate Easter, and I look forward to it.
So happy Easter to everybody, and we'll see you all next Wednesday night at our special time for that week at 7:30. That's Adam. That's Matt. I'm Chris Heidel. Have a great Easter, and we'll leave you with REM. Reason why we're playing this song because on April 27th, 1991, during that bonfire at Riviera Lanes. This was one of the hits on the radio. So here it is.